Villains are the backbone of any good story, whether it's in movies, TV shows, or comics. They give us someone to root against, someone to fear, and sometimes someone we secretly love. Over time, the whole hero versus villain thing has gotten a little blurry, but let's be real. Some villains are just straight up nightmare fuel. In animation, it's not just for kids anymore. Some animated villains are so terrifying, they make live action bad guys look tame. So, in today's video, we're diving into the top 10 scariest animated villains of all time. Buckle up, because this is going to be a wild and creepy ride. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. 1. Mima, Perfect Blue. Perfect Blue is a psychological Japanese thriller released in 1997. It was well received in the film festival circuit and has been subject to critical evaluation and analysis. The movie has been named as the scariest animated film by the blog /film and deals with themes of identity, voyeurism, and performance. Mamoru Uchida, better known as Mima, is the secondary villain in the film, yet Mima is as scary as the main villain. At the beginning of the movie, we are introduced to him as a bodyguard to the pop idol group Cham. However, as the film progresses, he develops a mad obsession with the lead singer of the group, Mima Kurogi. We first observe this in an incident where a group of thugs try to attack Mima, which he interrupts, displaying his aggressive obsession towards her as Mima's career progresses, which includes her quitting the idol group to enter the film industry. Mima's obsession with her leads to frightening incidents, including killing those close to or associated with her. Mima finds it difficult to accept Mima's transition to acting, prompting him to threaten her agent, Tadakoro, by sending him a firecracker packed in an envelope, which injures him. As Mima's acting career leads her to feature in nude photographs, Mima starts feeling betrayed. Meanwhile, Mima discovers a website that features her private life. Mima's excessive obsession with Mima leads us to believe that he could be the one behind her. However, towards the end, Mima receives an email from the admin of the website, Red Room, which uses his obsession with Mima to prompt him to believe that the now actress Mima is not real and needs to be deposed. Mima's lingering presence throughout the movie brings out many hidden fears in us, but if one feels some sympathy towards him, particularly towards the climax, it won't be a surprise. 2. Other Mother, Coraline. Coraline is the third highest grossing stop-motion film ever released, hitting the screens in 2009. The film is a dark fantasy horror film produced by Laika and is based on the 2002 novella carrying the same name by Neil Gaiman. Coraline marked the debut of Laika in feature film. Other Mother is the primary antagonist of the movie. The movie features Coraline's exploration of her house, leading her to a mysterious world called the Otherworld, controlled and ruled over by the Other Mother. The Other Mother brings Coraline to the Otherworld through manipulation, which includes appearing to Coraline in her mother, Mel Jones's disguise. Further, she projects the Otherworld as perfect and filled with happiness to Coraline. However, we later realize that the truth is not what it seems, as she tries to force Coraline to stay in the Otherworld. The Other Mother is actually a witch-like powerful entity who kidnaps people and other beings from the real world to feast on their flesh before trapping their souls. She does so by starting with the same manipulation she tried with Coraline, before telling her victims to sew buttons in place of their real eyes, so as to live in the perfect world of the Otherworld. It is only later in the movie that we witness her real nature and form, which is malevolent and of a creature with a skeletal spider-like figure. From the ghost trapped, another name of her, Beldam, is revealed. She is almost omnipotent in the Otherworld and has been read as being inspired by Romanian folklore, in which Beldam means a witch or a hag. 3. Hexus, FernGully, The Last Rainforest. FernGully, The Last Rainforest is a musical fantasy released in 1992, widely described as an environmental film. A portion of the movie's gross collection was donated to Greenpeace, the Rainforest Foundation Fund, and the Sierra Club. Hexus is the primary villain in the movie. Who else, other than a pollution-causing entity, can be the best suited for being the antagonist in a movie with an environmental message? Hexus is precisely that entity. According to the description given by one of the main characters, Maggie Loon, about the entity, it came into being when the balance of nature shifted, causing death and destruction in its way, before being defeated and trapped inside a tree by Maggie Loon herself. But the full display of the villain happens after two humans unknowingly release him by cutting off the tree where he was trapped. From his interaction with the human, it can be deduced that Hexus had some form of omnipotence, as he knew about the evolution of humans, their social structure, and their machine, even after being trapped in a tree. He appears as a mass of orange glowing energy, but able to shapeshift according to the object possessed. or consume. He even appears as humanoid. His real form is that of a gigantic skeletal-like creature made of poison and oil. Hexus is both manipulative and sadistic, taking almost a sexual kind of pleasure in the destruction of nature. His sole goal is to destroy nature and Earth as we know it.
Now, Pig Keeper, you shall die.
4. The Horned King, the Black Cauldron. The Horned King is the primary antagonist of one of the most expensive movies of its time, The Black Cauldron, which was released in 1985. The film performed poorly at the box office, however later achieved a cult status. The Horned King appears as a vindictive, narcissistic monarch who wishes to rule over the world as a god. He wishes to do so by finding the Black Cauldron, which could give him the power to create an army of deathless warriors. Even though the Horned King is introduced as possessing magical abilities, we do not see much action from him in the entire movie. The only magic that we witness is his teleportation abilities, which he uses to teleport into his castle's main hall. He manifests his powers through his army of magical and terrifying creatures, which include the dragon-like Gwithantsts, huntsmen, Evandervin, and troll-like creepers. Throughout the movie, the Horned King is composed and cold and doesn't display much anger. The only time he displays anger is when his plan to rule over the world fails, which leads to him physically attempting to attack Taran, his nemesis in the film. Nobody, including his servant, knows how he became the king, and his origins are mysterious. His cold and composed behavior is in between interrupted by wicked laughs and rare displays of a sense of humor. His mysterious behavior and origins are reinforced by his physical appearance, which shows him as an elderly man with antler horns, while his red robe hides his rotting, undead skin underneath, amplifying his terrifying appearance. 5. Monsters from Mad God. Mad God, first premiered in 2021 at the Locarno Festival, is a stop-motion horror film. The movie has been applauded for experimenting with the stop-motion effects and for the ambiguous but philosophical plotline. As the movie begins, we witness a dystopian and nauseating world from the word go. Monsters run amok in this world. The creatures in the bottom of the food chain, even those working tirelessly, laboring around, display the terrors of the oppressive industrial system. Most of the creatures of Mad God's hellish underworld appear in gory detail, often with exaggerated physical features or a combination of mechanical and organic parts. The giant beasts possess muscular bodies covered in blood and scar, often just for the purpose of horrific entertainment and to terrorize the weaker. These beasts smash the smaller beings to pulp, apart from consuming them for food. There are other beings which roam in a group to consume the dying and the injured. Often, creatures that escape the first round of violence with injury are picked off by these scavengers. There are other insect-like monsters who look like arachnid, another insect. They use their pincers and other pointed body parts to either kill or drag their prey into their nests. There are various humanoid monsters rampaging through the hellish underworld too. They display a variety of distorted features like bloated stomach, elongated jaw, body filled with breasts, among others. They brutally tear apart other weaker creatures with their brutal strength. 6. Wolf Puss in Boots, The Last Wish. After a decade-long hiatus, Puss in Boots made a comeback with Puss in Boots, The Last Wish in 2022, and it made the comeback with a bang, garnering awards and nominations while also performing well at the box office. The introduction of philosophical and moral questions through the antagonist Wolf was particularly noticed. The overarching antagonist is actually a physical embodiment of death itself. One of the primary characteristics that makes Puss in Boots a legendary character is its 9 lives. He often boasts about it, and well, death makes an entry to destroy the pride of Puss in Boots by taking his last life. The wolf is presented in a dark, stylish shade that blends well with his character. His attire compromises a black poncho and brown trousers, with himself being silvery white in color. He also has blood red eyes, which gives another dimension to his lingering presence throughout the movie. The wolf, being death itself, is invincible and immortal, with other supernatural strengths. His invincibility is marked in the last fight, where Puss in Boots, even after getting a slight upper hand over his opponent, acknowledges that he would never be able to defeat death. Wolf is shown as a sadistic character who takes pleasure in one's fears towards him. He is extremely cunning and makes the movie tension-filled until the climax, when his moral code is brought into the fore. If, on the one hand, he despises anyone who attempts to flee or mock death, on the other hand, he shows respect to those who accept death to be the ultimate truth. 7. Shan Yu Mulan. Much before the live-action release of Mulan in 2020, Disney released the action-adventure film in 1998, which garnered positive responses. The film revolves around China's attempts to ward off the challenge posed by the Han, led by its murderous leader Shan Yu. Shan Yu embarks on his mission to dethrone the Emperor of China as he sees the building of the Great Wall as an insult. Shan Yu is depicted with Mongoloid Asiatic facial features in the movie. He is the only Han who has glowing yellow eyes. His features of bared fang, long mustache, and long hair go well with his role as the cold, cruel chief of the Huns. Shan Yu is depicted as possessing almost superhuman strength, endurance, and senses. He climbs with ease, while also shown single-handedly breaking a barricaded door. Further, even after being buried under a heavy mass of snow due to an avalanche after hours, who were seemingly out of sight. Shan Yu is shown as a character who is devoid of any human emotions and being, instead, entirely focused on his goal. This makes him almost unbeatable. However, his lack of emotions also makes him a brute who terrorizes anyone in his way. This bruteness is depicted when he burns an entire village, murdering common people, including children and women. He doesn't show any remorse for his action and plans ahead calmly. Throughout the movie, Shan Yu appears as an efficient, composed military tactician until the climax. It is only in the climax that we see Shan Yu exhibiting his real character of a madman filled with anger and disgust towards his foe. 8. Oogie Boogie. The Nightmare Before Christmas. The Nightmare Before Christmas was released in 1993. The film was not projected to make much due to the small budget, as well as because of its timing of release colliding with big release. However, it eventually became a sleeper hit. The movie centers around a fantasy world called Halloween Town, which is populated by various ghouls. The primary antagonist in the movie is the cruel boogeyman, Oogie Boogie. Oogie appears as a brown-gray sack with some facial features. Deep black holes replace eyes, while a black hole forms his mouth. He has stumpy legs and arms, which are basically extensions of the sack. Later in the movie, a snake is produced from his mouth, acting as a tongue. Even though Halloween Town itself is populated by monsters, even they despise and fear him. Oogie Boogie acts playfully around his victims before sadistically killing them. This gives him a sassy but quick-tempered nature. It is revealed that Oogie Boogie is actually not a single individual, but a hive mind consisting of different bugs and insects. Oogie Boogie primarily operates through his lackeys Lock, Shock, and Barrel. They present him with his prey, who is then added to his concoction, which is known as snake and spider stew. Oogie Boogie is shown to be an ardent lover of gambling. His lair is designed in the model of a casino. Nevertheless, he is not an expert gambler and often manipulates the game to his advantage. The games which gamble with the lives of real people. Oogie Boogie is cruel and uses a variety of torture devices to torture his victims before killing them. He is shown possessing creativity, as can be seen from his lair, which carries creative defense mechanisms. 9. Judge Claude Frollo. The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Judge Claude Frollo is the main villain of the 1996 animated musical drama, The Hunchback of Notre Dame. The movie is an adaptation of Victor Hugo's 1831 classic by the same name. It was a commercial and critical success, going on to win a nomination at the Academy Awards and Golden Globes for the musical score. The character of Claude Frollo is relatable to many of the real-world villains, owing to his religious fanaticism and supremacism. Despite being an old man, he possesses enormous physical strength, which is portrayed by the muscles in his arm. Being Minister of Justice, he appears in a formal dress of black and purple robe, wearing a purple and black hat with a red ribbon attached to it. He is a self-centered Catholic, who even goes to the extent of blaming God to justify some of his deviance from his definition of Catholic morality. He tries to cleanse Paris of the Romani people, who he sees as inferior to his beliefs. He does so with immense brutality, to the extent of even murdering pregnant women and spacing out the lashes, so as to increase the pain inflicted. Frollo displays immense pride in his deeds and feels a sense of moral superiority. He also appears as a manipulative person, making the Hunchback believe that he should remain isolated as the world will despise him. The Hunchback, Quasimodo, believes him until he meets Esmeralda, who makes him see his worth and humanity. Frollo often displays superficial kindness, which is quickly exposed due to his general sense of negativity. Nevertheless, even his definition of moral superiority fails, as he develops a lust for the Romani Esmeralda, depicting his hollowness and hypocrisy. Frollo is a terrible character who displays the embodiment of cruelty under the garb of order. 10. Grigory Rasputin, Anastasia. Anastasia, released in 1997, is the first 20th Century Fox animation produced by its subdivision, entirely dedicated to animated features. 20th Century Fox Animation. Anastasia is a fictionalized narrative of the happenings in the lives of Romanovs during the Russian Revolution. Grigory Rasputin is the primary antagonist of the film. Nonetheless, he resembles real-life Rasputin very little. One of the only resemblances Rasputin and Anastasia has with that of the real Rasputin is his appearance. As a tall, scrawny-looking man with tied-back black hair with a long beard, he wears a robe tied by a gold rope sash with 3 beads around his waist. Rasputin is a self-centered and wicked man who, to fulfill his motive, is shown going to any extent to accomplish his revenge with the Romanovs. He acts as a catalyst in the killing of the entire family. He is shown to be obsessive and impulsive towards achieving his goal, as he sells his soul to the devil to gain power. Further, he has no friends and cares less about even his helper, as depicted by the constant hitting of Bartok. Rasputin appears as a type of sorcerer who, even after falling into ice, stays there undead for years. Rasputin's superpowers are attributed to his soul being guarded in a reliquary, the only way of defeating him being destroying it. Rasputin's character has been a fan favorite, often being attributed as one of the most popular non-Disney villains, until Disney made a deal with 21st Century Fox, acquiring the rights of Anastasia. Marvelous conclusion. This list has some villains that'll bring back memory, especially if they gave you nightmares as a kid. And honestly, some of them still have that effect today. Animation really has an edge here, letting us dive into wild superpowers and unique worlds that live action can't quite match. The bold colors and creative styles also spark some serious inspiration, from stop motion to puppetry. The techniques used in these films show just how much animation can do, but it's the villains who really make these worlds feel real, making us feel all sorts of emotions and forget about logic for a bit. So, which animated villains still freak you out? Drop a comment and let us know. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.